Hey, what's up everybody? This is Like It's 1985, and today we are going to take a look at the Marvel Select Carnage figure. Big fan of Carnage as well as Venom, and basically anything to do with the symbiotes. So here is the packaging here, really nice. You can kind of make out, there's some artwork on the card back there, which is, has Carnage's face. So really nice. And fantastic artwork here on the side of the packaging here. Really cool. I almost want to try to save that because the artwork is so cool. On the back here, they have a bio here for us to read, and you can certainly do so if you wish. And here we see Carnage, the figure, and the various optional heads there and poses. So behind the actual bubble, here is the actual artwork here that we can see better now that I removed the figure in the bubble, but really fantastic artwork here. Alright, so let's first have a look at the accessories, then we'll take a look at the figure in closer detail. So, starting here on the right, there are these seemingly randomly shaped tendrils here, various shapes and sizes. You can see the detail there. So there's a total of 5 of these. And there's peg holes on the back of the figure that these will plug into. You can see the plug right there, for example. And this is the last of those randomly shaped ones. And then out of the package you do get these straight tendrils here. There are 4 of them. And they seem to, bend. I mean, they do bend, but they seem to hold their shape just a little bit, but you can see it kind of goes back into the shape it was before, and I guess maybe after time it may eventually straighten out, but there is not a wire inside, so it's just plastic, and so you can kind of get things bent a little bit, but they kind of unbend after a little bit. So you do have these 4, and again there are some ports on the back of the figure that I'll show you where you can plug these into. And moving on, these are the more exciting accessories to me. You get this weapon here, which is nice. Very, very cool. It's got some nice sculpting detail there. Really cool. And this one as well. Pretty cool. Now, finally we get to the 2 optional head sculpts. The head sculpt here is the one that comes in the package, like that, attached to the figure. You do get this one here, which I believe is supposed to be more of the comic look because it has that pink inside his mouth, which is, I think, is how Carnage was depicted in the comics at some point. At least back in the 90s when I was reading comics, Maximum Carnage, for example. So you can see some nice sculpting detail there. But if I had to make a guess, I would say this is the comic head, whereas that's more of a realistic one. In contrast, this one I have no idea. It looks like this might be, I don't know if this ever happened in the Marvel Comics universe, but this looks like zombified Carnage. He just has that zombified look to the symbiote's head here. Nonetheless, it's pretty cool. Lots of nice detail. Almost to the point of being a little bit grotesque. So I think that's really cool. So here is a size comparison with Marvel Select Anti-Venom and Marvel Select Venom. Okay, so let's go over articulation. The actual neck is a ball joint, so there is a wide range of movement there for the head. There is a articulation point here at the shoulder, and the shoulder can go to about there, at least on my figure. Anymore, I feel like I'm going to force it, so you got some range of movement there at the shoulder as far as in and out. Swivel here at the bicep. Then you have the elbow joint here. So about a 90-degree range of articulation there. And then there's a swivel just above where the wrist is. And then there's actually a joint at the wrist itself. This one you probably want to be very careful about, just because of the amount of, just because of the thin amount of plastic there. So I'm going to be really careful with that. Articulation, there's like an ab joint here, which is really nice. And there actually is a waist swivel. I didn't realize that until I actually, moved the waist, and it actually did move. So it's pretty well hidden there, which is nice. So looking at the hips, not a lot of movement here. I mean, there might be more than I'm showing you, but I feel that if I force it anymore, it might break. So it seems to go just that far, like that in, and just about that far out. So not an incredible range, but again, your mileage may vary. You may be more brave than me to try to get this to articulate, but you can see the hip does go forward and back a little bit. There is a tight swivel there. I'm not going to force it, but you can see the joint there with the cut. 2 points of articulation at the knee. It's just a little scary. So there's the knee articulation. And finally we get to the ankle. And it does have a little bit of rocking to it, or pivot, I guess you'd call it. So you can get the figure in a wider stance and still have the feet, flat on the ground, on the surface there, which is nice. So here is the comic version head, I believe. And you can see there, it looks really, really fantastic on the figure. So really cool. So here is what I call the zombie Carnage head. And this one I don't really foresee myself using on this figure. I'll be switching between the Cletus Cassidy exposed head and the comic version. But there you go, just an idea what that looks like with it attached to the figure. So now let's go ahead and have a closer look at the actual figure itself, and it is fantastic. So the color is really good. It's really kind of almost like a realistic color and sculpt, and the actual figure itself is not smooth. I mean, there's actually texture to the different parts of his symbiote. So you should be able to see that with the light reflecting off there, that there's actually texture throughout this figure. The entire body is not smooth, but it actually has texture to it. So really, really fantastic. And take a look at the back here. Again, nice, really, really nice sculpting on this figure. Now, I did mention that there are peg holes throughout the body where you can peg in the tendrils as you wish. So I can look here and see there seems to be a peg hole right here on one of his arms, and also over here. So there's at least one peg hole on his arms that I can see. On the back there are 3. 1, 2, 3. And let me see if I can see anywhere else there are these peg holes. I don't believe there are any on the legs at all. The packaging shows just the tendrils coming out of his back, so I don't believe there's any holes that you can peg into the legs, but you wouldn't want to anyways. It doesn't really make too much sense, but you do have one peg hole on each arm, it looks like. Oh, here. There is a peg hole right there. And nothing on the opposite side, so there's nothing over here, but there is one peg hole here. So they're kind of random in some sense. There's no symmetry to it, other than the fact that you have one on each arm. But that's where the symmetry ends. Like you have one here on this shoulder, but none in here, and you have 3 holes instead of like 4. But I guess it's all supposed to be sort of like random. So the hand sculpt is amazing, just fantastic. It does have a point to it, but I wouldn't say it's sharp. But you want to be careful when you're handling the figure to be gentle with the hands because of all these extensions coming out of the hand. But look at this fantastic sculpt. And you got the same thing over here. So you can see he has kind of like 2 long Wolverine type of claws here, and there are 3 over here, and they're different a different style of blade or claw, if you will. So, as you can see here, I replaced the hands with the optional weapon accessories here. So this looks fantastic. Look at that. Very, very cool. And they just kind of twist on. You just use some twisting motion to get the hands off, and the same thing to put the actual weapon accessories on. So very easy to take on and off as far as swapping the hands out for the weapons here. So really, really nice. Alright, so what I did is I put all of the randomly shaped tendrils on the figure, and you can see the type of effect that gives the figure. Just makes them look more just more wild, more out of control, more chaotic, which is part of the nature of Carnage. And having the tendrils here with kind of the half-exposed head really adds to the effect, I think. So I don't know what I'll do with the straight ones, but maybe I'll play around with them and see if I can get them to stay in shape a little bit. But, you know, for the sake of the review, I just put on these randomly shaped ones here. So of course you can take some off too as well if it's too much, and just have maybe 2 or 3 of them on there. It's really obviously up to you what you want to do with them, but really, really cool effect, I think. Also, I want to point out that the actual tendrils here do stay in very well. I was afraid they'd be hard to get in and easy to fall out, but no, they are actually really secure. You can see I'm shaking, shaking, shaking. This one's actually doesn't look like it's pegged all the way in, and it's in there securely, so there's no problem there. So really nice to see that they actually fit really well and stay in there as well. Okay, so final thoughts on this figure. Basically, if you like Venom, if you like Carnage, if you like symbiotes from the Marvel Universe, this is definitely a figure you want to pick up. I'm really happy to have it in my collection, and it's going to look great alongside Anti-Venom and Venom on my shelf. So I can't really think of anything to say right now at this moment bad about the figure. I'm really, really happy with it. So I definitely recommend you pick it up. If you like what you see, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Alright, well thanks for watching. This has been my review of the Marvel Select Carnage figure. Catch you guys and gals later.